Midnight Double Feature presents Bad Crystal, a Breaking Bad podcast. On this episode, we bring you Season 2, Episode 9, 4 Days Out. Written by Sam Catlin and directed by Michelle McLaren. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Bad Crystal, a Breaking Bad podcast. We're here covering Season 2, Episode 9, 4 Days Out. Colin, what is happening?
Hey, what's going on, dude? I'm excited. I'm ready to jump into this episode. I really, really love this episode. Like, a lot of the stuff that happens in it. I think this might be, like, visually one of the best episodes that's come across so far. I really, really dig it.
This is, yeah, absolutely, dude. This is an absolute standout episode. Like I mentioned at the end of, I think, the last episode, I'm like, that last episode, Better Call Saul, and this episode, 4 Days Out, are just kind of like two knockout back-to-back episodes, and it's just like, holy shit, man. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to get into this. This is, like I said, 4 Days Out, guys. I'm not going to go through the socials. If you want to follow us on social media, scroll down. All of our things are in the show notes. But I do want to shout out, as always, our Patreon feed. Head to patreon.com/midnight double feature. That's where you can find all of our bonus content. We have so much stuff going up on there. We've got Final Destination 2 coming up as well, which we're really excited about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and look, we've got a lot of other little neat bonuses and stuff like that cooking. So that is going to be really, really thriving this year in 2021. But guys, let's get into this. Let's get into 4 Days Out. Colin, you've already kind of like dipped your toe into your thoughts into 4 Days Out. Hit me.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. Not as much as Better Call Saul, but it is still a very, very good episode. And I think it's got a lot of the stuff that I'd like to see in movies. It's primarily kind of shot in like one location. Very minimal characters. There's a pretty clear goal of like what to happen. It's like, oh, they're stranded and they have to get back soon, and it's just these two guys, and it's very simple, but also at the same time it clicks together really, really well. And I think that the start of the episode is great. You get kind of like a Walter White moment. Half of this episode is Walter White, and the second half is like a Heisenberg episode. And that's what I think is really cool. And also seeing kind of outside the family dynamic of Walt talking about his mom. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I thought, I was like, oh, is this going to be like Tony Soprano and his mom? Like, there's going to be some crazy shit that like, because they kind of talk about her like she's fucking crazy as a
Anthony.
Right.
Anthony, you don't love me anymore.
I thought she was going to be like crazier than a cat on a hot chin, or crazier than the shithouse cat or something like that. But I was thoroughly surprised because I thought they were kind of going to expand outside of it. But I was like, out of all the characters, though, I know pretty much all the characters, and I never saw somebody that was Walt's mom. I was like, so I don't know if this is really going to go anywhere. But yeah, just interesting seeing, the cancer diagnosis and that side of things, but then also, seeing Walt interacting with Jesse. That was really, really interesting. And there's a lot of meat on that bone, but I want to save it for when we kind of get into the episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We definitely will save it for the episode, but I think that's the absolute crux of this episode, right? It's the bonding between Jesse and Walt, and just how well they get along together, but at the same time, how they don't get along together. Mm-hmm. Like it's such a yin and yang relationship, and it's interesting to see Jesse take the whole kind of like, you can do this, you can get through this, like the whole supportive kind of like mentee, and like you don't see that often. It's really interesting to see Walt like I said in the last episode, criticize Jesse in the way that he does, right? Like, I mean, he's never really constructive. He's very, like, quick on the trigger on, like, oh, were you dropped on your head as a child? Like,
Right.
he's very, very quick on, like, those kind of, like, insults that don't really lead to anything constructive. They're just, fuck, I hate you so much. And I'm not going to say anything constructive right now to help us through the situation. I'm just going to berate and insult you until we come up with something. So that whole element of it is really awesome. I love things like this when characters get stranded out in the middle of nowhere. There's an episode of The Sopranos actually that is very much like this called Pine Barrens. And Pine Barrens is have you seen the entire series?
No, but I've watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons. Is Pine Barren? No, I'm thinking College. I'm thinking of the College episode.
Yeah, you're thinking College. Yeah, so College is a very memorable one. That's the one where Tony Soprano, while with his daughter, gets wind of someone who ratted out on them, and he has to kind of like go out and kill them. That's different. Pine Barrens is one where Paulie and Silvio are kind of like disposing of these bodies out in the Pine Barrens, so like out in the forest in the snow. And one of the bodies is alive and manages to escape. And they need to track down this body, this person, and make do. Right. So it's kind of like one of those. It's I feel like a lot of shows have this kind of episode where two characters get stuck in a situation that they need to find their way out. And it's not really like a bottle episode. Like, it's not really like, like bottle episodes are kind of like one location, very small, minimal budget. There is a very famous bottle episode of Breaking Bad that we will be covering eventually, but I don't really consider this a bottle episode, considering that, this feels a lot bigger and this feels like a lot more important than a bottle episode. But yeah, no, absolutely, dude. I think this episode is a standout episode of season 2. Like, this is an absolutely incredible episode, just in terms of like the bonding and like moving things forward. So Walt is now in remission, as we come to know. And, that he is not happy about that. We'll get to that. We'll talk about our interpretations, and we'll get to why we think Walt did what he did. But like, that in itself is a whole kind of like, holy shit, dude. Like, that could be a half an hour conversation about like how, like how do we talk about his reaction and his kind of like mindset. Like, like he just pretty much went out to the desert to die. And basically nearly died for what? So, yeah, man, like, this is an absolute... I love this episode. This is a showstopper episode for me, 4 days out. I'm not going to say it's like a top 10, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely, like, up in the top half of episodes. And, it really, really... No matter how many times I watch this show, it really saddens me to see Jesse in such a great place with Jane. It really saddens me to see him be very happy and very like, man, I really want to go to this museum. And Walt calls. And Walt is like, fucking drop your plans, dude. We got to fucking cook.
Right.
Because of the methylamine, because the methylamine's going to go bad. Like, come on, dude. Like,
right.
It's just it always pains me, and I've seen this show so many times, and I know exactly how it's gonna go, and it's still fucking brutal to me, man. It's still just, I hate it so much. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I love this episode. What do you say we get into this?
Let's do it.
Just briefly as well before we do get in, the director Michelle MacLaren is a standout director of Breaking Bad. Like, she's done a lot of stuff. She's won an Emmy for one of the episodes, but
I can see why.
She also directed Game of Thrones, Walking Dead. Believe she did Sopranos as well, from memory. And she's obviously worked on Better Call Saul. She was, get this right, she was originally supposed to direct Wonder Woman in 2017. Like, she was actually signed on before Patty Jenkins, and then she dropped out because of, quote, creative differences. So she was absolutely supposed to direct Wonder Woman. Like, she was on board.
I have nothing against Patty Jenkins, but I would love to see this woman's interpretation of Wonder Woman. That's wow. I almost chalk that up to like the movies that never were. Like, that really sucks.
I can't wait to see your reaction to future episodes of Breaking Bad that she directs, because yeah, she is 100% a director that, like, a female director that needs to get her name out there. Like,
right.
like you need to start
It does.
start directing.
Her episodes don't seem like they just kind of fall into the fold. Like this episode, definitely not only for the story. Obviously, the story has some big elements to it, but really visually, like when Walt is outside the airport and there's that huge shot looking up at him when he's out in the field, and I was like, dude, it looks like you're looking at eternity. And I was like, and it's so insane in television to see that. Like, this feels like the cover of like a Pink Floyd album, and visually this episode just like it, except for maybe the moments where they first drag Saul out into the desert. Like, visually, I think that's probably some of the most striking stuff of the second season, but this is not that far behind it. Very, very, if not neck and neck with that.
100%. So here we are at the beginning. Walton and the family, the extended family rather, are here waiting this PET CT scan, and Marie's bitching about the magazines. You guys don't really need to hang around, says Walt. And Marie says, some places skimp and they only do PET. I don't understand why you wouldn't go to Kleinman. Marie's being really Marie here, right? Like, this is the full Marie. Like, this is the Marie dialed up to 10. She says that doctors want you to think that they're so much smarter than the technicians, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's...
And I think she puts this idea in Walt's head, too. So when he sees that scan, he thinks like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yes.
And it's like, if you kept your fucking mouth shut, like... And I hate it because I know that Marie is coming from a good place. When Walt kind of was talking about first season, not talking about doing chemo, and she was like, that's Walt's choice, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know she's coming from a place where she means the best for Walt, but it's also like, dude, you are like, you were stirring the pot way too quick and shit is like sloshing out of it. And it's like, just settle down. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, and again, I think that's just, we chalk that up to Marie being Marie. Like, this is the kind of person she is. She just can't sit there and, like, let things mull over in her mind. She's, like, there's no kind of, like, brain to mouth kind of, like, filter, Like, it's just like, I'm just going to say exactly what I think. And in a lot of people, that's really, I appreciate that about people. But, like, if you're someone like Marie... just chill out for a sec.
I get it. I'm the type of person that, like, I don't like just to, like, sit, just to sit there and kind of wait. And it's like trying to fight smoke. You can't really do anything about it. You just have to sit there and kind of take it. And I get the anxiety and the frustration in that.
Walt coughs up his lungs in the bathroom, undergoes his scan, and he tries to get this preliminary feeling on how his scan went from this technician. Technician just says, dude, I'm just a fucking technician, man. I can't read this shit. He manages to see the reflection of the scan in a poster and notices a weird-looking mass in his lung. And it's interesting because this is, like you said, influenced by Marie's kind of like thinking, but it's also a little bit of Walt here because Walt presents this thing where he knows a little bit about everything, or he knows everything about everything.
Right.
So him, like, interpreting the shadow and jumping to his own conclusions is so in his character. It's so like, that can't be good.
Right.
Like, it's so like, that is my tumor.
And mixed with the coughing, like, I get that, but Walt, I think it also is like, Walt, you are a very, very intelligent person, even common sense wise, and especially with chemistry, but that doesn't mean that, you can fly a plane, or you can diagnose a tumor, or, you can perform open heart surgery. There's just certain things where it's like, this episode does kind of show you that he does have his limits. But the one thing, when he's in the bathroom coughing his lungs out, I really just want, the guy next to him is like, hey buddy, are you okay? And I would have all just to like let this huge fucking like fart out and be like, oh yeah, I'm fine.
Walt's just like, hey man, can you help me just change my diaper real quick?
Yeah, that's a terrible fart noise. Hold on. There we go. That one was better.
Yeah, great. That's going to sound great on air. We get the title card. Walt meets with Saul, tells him that the doctors have given him weeks. Saul wants to know how much money they're laundering. Walt says $16,000. We've had some extenuating circumstances. Congratulations, you just left your family a secondhand Subaru.
That's great.
And Walt comes to the conclusion that they need to cook more often. And Saul's just like, yeah, that's my legal opinion. So Walt's talking to Skylar, says that he's thinking about going to see his mother. Skylar's worried that Walt wanting to see his mother is him losing hope. But he makes some jokes about his mother's old age to defuse the situation. Skylar believes that the news from the scan is going to be good. right? And this is, like, there's not that much here. Like, it's, what do you think about this? Like, they start kind of like making jokes at the expense of like Walt's mother and how she's going to react. But, like, other than that, there's really not too much else.
No, but I think it actually really does show you that Walt, again, withholding information from somebody, obviously feels like he has a little bit a better grasp on the situation. But you can, I think, an ending like this kind of justifies, in my mind, a little bit like withholding that information, because you could have scared the shit out of everybody for no reason and made it that much worse. So that it being a total 180 is kind of awesome, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I get why maybe withhold some of this, because you're not 100% sure. But that's also a two-headed coin. You're not 100% sure, that this is great or this is, bad. It can really kind of go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. But like also kind of like bleeding into the next scene and kind of connected to this scene, I love the lighting in this episode. So like, Walt and Skylar's bedroom is dark and like shadowy. Like it's kind of like done in like dark blues and dark wood. Whereas like when we wake up with Jesse and Jane, it's this bright sunlight and it's like there's these yellows, and it's just it's kind of like meant to show you like that it's this like light, happy honeymoon period. And like, man, like I love shit like that. Like, like lighting differences, because it's not done by accident, right? I mean, like, I remember 11th grade me in English was just like, man, you're telling me like Blade Runner has all of these like goddamn lighting shit. Like, I don't believe you. Sorry. And like, here I am as a fucking 27-year-old. Like, everything means something.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like, that's like if you watch, I think it's Blade Runner. It might be The Thing, but trying to figure out who is like the Thing or who is a replicant. And they have like a little, like, you can see the light reflecting in their eyes. And I can't remember if that's Blade Runner or The Thing. I'm drawing a blank.
So Blade Runner, I specifically remember an example my English teacher gave me in Blade Runner where Rachel's standing there. I think it's in Deckard's apartment, and she's kind of like, it's lit. She's got like the slits, like the lines across her face with the blinds. And I can't remember what my English teacher said, but it was just so like, how did you get that from that? And at that age, it was just like, no, there's no way. But like now I'm just like, yeah, I completely see it, man. Like that's visual fucking storytelling.
I think I realized that in The Thing, you see like the dots of light in their eye, but in Blade Runner, they have like that gold look. Like when Roy Batty's like, I want more life. Father, like his eyes have that gold, like reflective cat-like look. That's what it was. I just remembered that.
So Jesse and Jane are in bed. She wants to go to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum. Is that the ones with the A-bombs?
An idiot.
He's an idiot. A little culture won't kill you, she says. Besides, you might like a lot of the. You might like it. A lot of the paintings look like vaginas, and that catches his interest. Walt calls. Where the hell are you? Pick up the phone. God damn, he's so like. He's so stuck. It's not even just like, hey man, like just pick up the phone. Like it's not like where the hell are you is like how he starts the voicemail. Like come on, dude.
Well, that's also look at Jesse when he was like having his house and home like taken away from him piece by piece, and Walt was just like, don't call me anymore, and now Walt is in desperate need of something. It's like, dude, like you're a fucking dick. It's
a one-way street, absolutely. Walt tells Jesse that he needs to clear his schedule. They need to cook. Gives Jesse a bunch of things to buy. But I love Jesse here, right? Like he pushes back, much to Walt's surprise. Walt wants to cook for 4 days straight. Lies to Jesse, saying that the methylamine is going bad. This is Walt manipulating Jesse. This is a clear example, right? And like, sure, it's not, like to Jesse, like Jesse's oblivious, but like it's not for the most sinister purposes. It's because Walt wants to, I think, genuinely leave money for his fucking family because he thinks, his life is at an end, right? Like, he saw the mass and he's just like, all right, you know what, life's at an end. So he lies to Jesse about it, which is, I'm not going to say fine, but it's not for the most sinister purposes.
The ends justify the means, So, like, when it comes down to it, fuck Jesse getting stoned and eating Cheetos and jacking off. Like, get your ass out here. We need to work. Like, need to make sure my kids don't fucking starve to death. Like, get off your ass, dude. Like, come on. You can do it next weekend. I might not even be here next weekend, dude.
But that's another thing. Walt assumes that that's all he's going to do. Like, Walt doesn't, like, as far as Walt's aware, Jesse and Jane aren't really seeing each other yet. Like, I mean, like he's found the earring and whatever, but like he didn't connect that to Jane, or he didn't connect that to an actual relationship that's blossoming, right? I mean, like Walt is just assuming that Jesse's going to be fucking eating Funyuns and masturbating all day.
Let's be honest though. If there's no Jane, that's exactly what he's doing.
That is true. That is true. But here's my thing. That is Jesse can do whatever the fuck he wants to do on his fucking day off. Like, I'm just like, dude, like honestly, it's not like okay, look, I come at it from like what sure, this is important to Walt, but how important is it to Jesse? Like, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, like the guy has kind of like stepped out of his comfort zone on more than one occasion, just to kind of like, you know, I guess, what am I saying here? Like really, really help you out, you know? And it's just like, dude, like the guy gets in a relationship, wants to go to a museum just to hang out with his girlfriend. You can't give him this one little leeway. We need to fucking cook for 4 days straight now, you're telling me?
I think if Walt had literally just been like, listen, I don't know how much time I have left. Like, Jesse would have been like, okay, I got you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I reckon if Walt had told the truth here, Jesse would have been like, yeah, sorry, Jane, let's postpone this.
It's pride.
Like, you know, let's push it back.
Pride.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, man, I think Jane is genuinely good for Jesse. Like, she's making him step out of his comfort zone. He seems genuinely happy when he's with her. And much like Hank says at the end, Walt just keeps pulling Jesse back in, right?
Yeah.
Just keeps pulling back in. So Skylar drops Walt off at the airport. I love him just kind of like going inside, waiting for Skylar to leave, and then walking back out only to be picked up by Jesse in the RV.
Don't even wait like 5 minutes, dude. Jesus, that's too close.
No.
She could come back and be like, oh, you forgot something. Like, oh, God.
Right. But also Skylar dropping off Walt, they share a brief moment, and Skylar seems genuinely like, you know, like actually sympathetic. Like it doesn't seem, it seems like that they're going to work out. You know, we've seen that they've had marital issues and things like that. A little less this season, right? That was more of a season 1 kind of thing. But like, she seems very, very sympathetic to Walt right now.
Right. Yeah. This is definitely not the couple fighting about like 2 cell phones. You know, like it feels like that was like ages ago.
Yeah. You brought a meth lab to the airport.
Yeah, I knew as soon as I saw that RV, I was like, oh my God. Then I'm like, well, I mean, he does have a point. Like, I saved us a trip. If it weren't for the bullet holes, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, the bullet holes are egregious. They head out into the desert, and man, I just wrote, the cinematography here is fucking gorgeous.
Dude, like, they film like a 2-hour road trip in like 4 minutes. It feels huge, and you really feel like you are miles away from everything. Like, mission accomplished, man.
Absolutely, man. And honestly, I remember talking to a friend of mine when we were at university, and he was kind of like doing like media art studies, and like, you know, he's very interested in becoming a director and like whatever, cinematographer, I don't know, whatever, media, whatever. And like, he was like, we were talking because we were watching Breaking Bad live as it was happening. And he's like, man, like, I would love to just go out into the desert and just film something, or into the snow where there's just nothing around. Because like those 2 landscapes, especially just visually, are just so astounding. And like every time I see this particular episode, actually 4 days out, I'm just like, holy shit, man. Like 100% hit the nail on the head. Like there is nothing around. The sunsets later, when we see the sunsets later, just look absolutely beautiful.
Right.
Even just seeing like the trail that the RV is following, because there's still like a little trail that's marked out because I guess they've been there before. Like, yeah. It looks absolutely astounding, man. It looks beautiful. Michael Slovis did a fantastic job on the cinematography. The passage of time is really, really, really well done, but it's also the moments of like, it's hard to describe within a medium that's not visual, you know, podcasting, but like Walt will be looking at something, holding the bag, the next cut he's like up, and the next cut, you know, and it's all in the same scene, but it'll be like him poking something, and then it cuts to him holding something, and then it cuts to him like shaking, and it's all very quick, like cuts, like you really didn't need to see him put something down, pick up the beaker and shake it, but it's like click, 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 and it's all these little moments that move by. It's beautiful. Like seeing Jesse passed out, we cut to Walt's passed out, and they're all doing like, but what I really wanted was just like something from like, it felt very Edgar Wright, like all that cutting
felt very like, we go around moms, kill Philip. Sorry, Philip. It's like that's what that whole thing. And it made me want to listen to, what is that? The specials, the bum, ba da da dum, dun, dun, from the beginning of Shaun of the Dead. I was like, and it's this great moment of like brevity, and they're like toasting with water and like fanning each other, and like the beautiful, beautiful shots of them outside in the lawn chairs, Walt eating fucking Funyuns. I was like, dude, like it. Like,
that's a fucking cover art.
yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, it just seemed like a moment of brevity, and I knew that this would not last. I knew that there was no way that this feels like the few moments where, like, if this whole season has been like running away from zombies, this or like Logan, what this feels like in Logan when they meet the farm family right before the X-24 shows up and kills everybody. It's this moment of just chill that I really love, but in movies and TV, this is not going to last. Well, it feels like a honeymoon period, right? I mean, like, it feels like these two just got married. They're on their honeymoon right now. And like, what, 50% of marriages, this is not going to end well, right? That's what I was going to say is, this, they argue like an old couple, but like care about each other like a married couple. It's like, it's strange. It's definitely a marriage of like necessity, but out of that necessity, sometimes you see people that get married and they fall in love and then it just becomes a thing of necessity, versus this started in a form of necessity. And now you can see things where he's like actually kind of concerned about each other,
Right. No, absolutely. And I just want to mention as well, like during this montage, you already said that we see Jesse passed out while Walt's cooking and Walt's passed out while Jesse's cooking. That in itself says a lot, right? I mean, but because the old Walt would never have trusted Jesse with the cook while he slept. Mm-hmm. There is no way. Like, this is like, Jesse has come such a long way since his Captain Cook days in season 1. Like, this entire montage gives you so much storytelling while also being super beautiful to look at. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
They got bags of Funyuns, right? 3 entire bags, 10 gallons of water. Walt is resisting giving Jesse his phone because Skylar might check his records. Jesse just wants to call Jane, right? I mean, like, that's kind of like all he wants. And then they get done with the cooking marathon, right? So we're here. 2.35 pounds each bag, 19 bags, dollar-wise, $40,000 a pound, minus distribution charges, nets them $672,000 each.
Oh,
Saul stands to make $285,600. By the way, I did the math.
God, $285,000 for facilitating. Now that I'm like, no, now you're overpaid, motherfucker. Like now I do not agree with what you're making. But $675,000. I mean, even when you subtract the 280, what you're looking at basically 400,000. If you're looking at around a little bit less, 390 something. But a piece, and they just did that in 4 days. Now imagine if you just did that for, let's just say you cooked for a month straight. It's like, dude, you'd be a millionaire, and 3 or 4 weeks, you'd have $2-3 million a piece. Like that's kind of insane.
It's crazy money, dude. Like, and like, that's not. Let's think about exactly what happens in the scene, because like Jesse celebrates here. Walt hesitates to celebrate with him, but even he can't deny how happy he is, so he high fives Jesse anyway. But Walt gets greedy here, right? I mean, like, he's just found out that he is about to net $672,000. But he's like, no, I want to cook the rest of this methylamine. Like, that's like, like, let's fucking use it. Right. Jesse's just like, dude, we have more than enough. $672,000, you can buy your family a goddamn house and then some.
And I thought that too. Crazy. I was like, man, this feels like Walt being greedy, but then it's like Walt is a chipmunk and grabbing nuts for the winter, and $672,000. It's a lot, but it's not as good as $800,000, and it's like $800,000. That's, a more car payments. That's more, and I think Walt is just that guy who is calculating how many meals does that get Junior? How many meals does that, how many house payments is that when I'm gone? I think part of it, that's what I think initially, but then when I kind of started thinking about it, I'm like, I do kind of feel like this is Walt just being like, I'm the fucking Lizard King. Like, let's make this shit, like $675,000 is probably enough. But I think that I can see Walt being like, dude, while we're already out here, we're ahead of schedule. Why not fucking do it, you know?
It might be like Jesse's. I can feel Jesse's sense of tiredness, you know, like exhaustion. But don't forget also in the first episode of the season, Walt counted out what was the target, right? It was $737,000. That was his target for the family to be happy. And yes, this is short, but it's also like, dude, you can come back for like a half a day and make $50K. Like, you know,
I also think it gets perpetually harder though to get these windows of time where she, you know, imagine if we were trying to do the podcast and our significant others didn't know. How fucking hard would that be? Like, if one of them was gone for 4 days, we would bang out like 8 episodes. You know, we'd be doing 2 episodes a day. So it's like, why you're already fucking there? Like, hell yeah. I'd be like, let's just do it. You know, we have a little bit left. We're ahead of schedule. If they were at their 4 days and time was up, then yeah, that's Walt pushing the envelope. But I feel like if you're already fucking out there, like, come on, you know, let's make another $150,000 a piece, you know?
All right, hold on. I'm just gonna text my missus and say we're breaking up so I can podcast more.
Yeah, and I was thinking too. So what? So Saul completely gets 280, 285. They said
285, 600. Yeah,
right. So they only have to pay 140 a piece, which means they're keeping over $500,000. Like, God damn, that's insane.
Oh yeah, that's a lot. But yeah, look, Jesse talks him out of it, proposes to come back tomorrow. There's going to be a Denny's out there someplace, Grand Slam, hot shower, a bed. Walt agrees. They go and start the RV, but the battery's dead. The buzzer didn't buzz. Did you hear the buzzer buzz?
What a man, just that common sense of like, you could put the keys anywhere. Why would you put them in the, like, I don't know. I can't get into that. Like, so many things could go wrong, you know?
Well, don't worry. You don't have to get into that because Walt fucking lets him have it, right? Well, dude, Walt tears him apart. And again, it's, you know, it's he criticizes as he does, right? He insults and just isn't constructive. Like I said, what you dropped on your head when you were a baby. Like, Jesse is genuinely trying in this episode, but like, he can't escape the fact that he is... his first instinct is never the best instinct, right? I mean, like, he goes to put the key in the fucking ignition. That's his first instinct, not the best instinct. Later on, when we get the fire, his first instinct is to dump all of their drinking water onto the fucking fire.
Right.
Not the best instinct, right? I mean, so I think Jesse is someone who acts, you know, without thinking. But if he was to apply himself, like Walt says, right? I mean, like he said on that test score, apply yourself. Like, he is capable of so much more.
Right. Well, and I also think it comes down to a thing of just like panicking, of just like, Jesse really doesn't have a lot of resilience for like conflict, you know? Like, Walt can really kind of take a lot of shit coming at him at once, and he's kind of can be calm and kind of think his way out of situations. But Jesse, I think, you know, he does definitely overcomes obstacles and conflicts and stuff. But when it's something real big, Jesse doesn't take a moment to be like, okay, well, let's just get this. Like, let's just, you know, let's calm down. Like, he just kind of knee-jerk reacts to stuff.
That might be down to like life experience, right? Like Walt's obviously a lot older. And he's probably been, you know, handed a lot more shit on his plate like than Jesse, right? So I think that's an interesting point. I think it's because of the age difference, to be honest. So they argue about the generator and the water. Now we've identified the problem. Oh wait, hold on. Fuck. No, I'm not there yet. Sorry. Wait. Sorry guys. Podcasting 101. They go to put the gas in the generator to jumpstart the RV, and I love that we get a close-up of him spilling some of the gas.
God, I'm a moron.
Pull this! I am pulling. They blow the generator, and like I said, Jesse's first instinct is to dump their drinking water on the burning Jenny. Well done, Jesse. As always, just well done. They argue about the generator and the water. Now we've identified the problem. You and thinking we've found the problem. Again, just constantly laying it on.
Right.
And I get it. You're in a tough spot, but it's like, man, just ease off the accelerator just for a second. Just ease off, because this is the guy that's going to be there for you. Like, I mean, like, it's just you two out there. you gotta form an alliance, dude. You can't like let this schism get even further, you know?
Right.
Walt gives Jesse his phone number to make the call. He calls Skinny Pete asking for a ride. Jesse gives him directions, asks for water, and tells him to leave now. That night, Jesse and Walt sit in the RV, all rugged up in the freezing cold. Jesse asks Walt if he can call Skinny Pete to see where he is. Yo, hey, what the hell are you talking about, man? There's no river.
Oh, God. Like, my palms immediately start sweating because, it really, the main reason is just because Walt has to be back very soon. And that window of time is closing and closing and closing. And just how far out they are, it's like that's how much farther it's going to take them to get back to civilization. Like, oh, man. Just like it feels like they had it feels like they were behind like a cruise boat getting pulled on like a little raft. And then that cord just snapped and they're just drifting out into sea. Like, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God.
Yep. They're getting that literally my next line. Because the phone dies, right? Like right on cue. My next line is, they're up shit creek without a goddamn paddle. And you just fucking pulled that analogy out of your ass.
It feels like they're like Castaway, you know?
Right. Wilson!
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I love Tom Hanks. That's not flying. That's falling with style. Like the way he yells is great.
America's dead. The lantern dies, right? So now they don't have heat. And we get this time-lapse shot of the RV, like, spilling over to the next morning. Dude, this is gorgeous.
Yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
Gorgeous. Jesse wakes up to Walt hand-cranking the generator, trying to trickle charge the battery. Apply a little bit of elbow grease. It'll take longer, a lot longer, but theoretically it should work. It has to work. This is Walt trying to convince himself, right? Like, this is also him buckling down and trying to get the job done, which, you know, we criticize a lot. We criticize Walt a lot on this show, I think, right? Like, I mean, like, we criticize a lot of his kind of like brash actions. We criticize him about the way he criticized Jesse, the way he approaches things. But I don't think we give him credit where credit is due. When he wants to get something done, he will get it done, right? I mean, like, he'll find a way, whether it's illegal or not. Like, he'll find a way,
for better or for worse. Yeah, no, I think that he definitely is a strong-willed individual, but it ends up, you know, it's kind of one of those things of where it's like a bit of a fault of like what you are accomplishing, you are creating 4 more problems in the time, in the style of which you are accomplishing this.
Yeah,
you know, you could.
We talked about that, right? Like, he calculates things, but he always forgets 1 or 2 massive things, obvious things sometimes, that he just didn't factor into his calculations.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and Jesse knows this as well, because later in the episode, Jesse is relying on Walt's quick thinking, or Walt's, you know, dude, you got to come up with something, right? I mean, like, and the audience is relying on this too, right? Like, the audience knows that this is mid-season, well, like, closer to the end of the season. We know that we have episodes left, so we know they're not dying out here. Right. So the audience is sitting here being like, okay, someone's going to come up with something. And if it's going to be someone, it's going to be Walt, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's not going to be, they're not going to be saved by Funyuns, you know?
Right. Jesse takes over as we see a weak Walt headed back to the RV, coughing up again. And they keep going. We transition between both of them, continuing to turn the commutator. Walt's got the Lawrence of Arabia look, right? Like, he's got the scarf on his head. He's passed out in the chair. I love that. Like, oh man, like, this gets me. Like, this actually really gets me, because Jesse, like, Walt is unconscious, right? Like, he's falling asleep, and Jesse walks over and he's like, fuck, man. Like, I wonder if he's dead. Like, I wonder if he's alive, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so Walt has a coughing fit. This is where Jesse figures out that Walt lies to him. Methylamine doesn't spoil. That's not why we're here. They go to turn over the engine, starts for a second and it dies. Jesse starts losing his mind, and man, I love this. Like, Aaron Paul is working here, like working, as we got in our last episode. He's reminiscent, dude. He's like, why couldn't I have just gone to Santa Fe?
Right, yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I feel like, you know, both of them are pretty, you know, in despair, I guess, when it won't start up. I mean, obviously Walt's got physical ailments to worry about as well, but Jesse, like, really starts to fall to pieces, you know. And I get it. Like, you're running out of, you have no water, you know, you're trying to crank this thing, like, it's not really working. But I mean, he is in like hysterics, you know, more so than I think the average person would probably be. You know, I think that just that stress, like a lot, like even a little bit of stress, you know, his threshold is just not there yet. You know, I don't think he's ever had to deal with like hardcore consequences to stuff, you know, outside his parents, maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I think Jesse's also thinking about, you know, what could have been. Like, dude, I was like, I could have been happy right now standing around in a fucking museum with looking at vaginas with, and I'm not going to say the love of my life, yeah, but like someone that
sure
that potentially has, you know, the potential to change me or change my life.
He also just made $580,000, so you know, maybe shut up a little bit. You know, maybe get out and walk. You know, now if you were like Paul Sheldon, you know, fucking crippled and couldn't leave the RV and nothing was, yeah, I would be crying and freaking out. But like, you know, just saying, I'm just saying, you can still light the RV on fire and send a smoke signal. That's all I'm saying.
What did she say? Yo, cock-a-doodie? What did she say?
Oh,
me.
Yeah, he didn't jump out of the cock-a-doodie car. Yeah, dude. She's I had this girl I worked with, real sweet girl. Her name was Kaylee, and she always used to be like, "Yeah, at least I don't look like Louis C.K." And she was short, kind of heavy set, and I'd be like, "At least I don't look like fucking Kathy Bates."
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And she laughed. She was a really good sport. She laughed her ass off. She's really funny. But she would go by and be like, she'd go by like, "What's up, Louie?" And I'm like, "What's up, Kathy Bates?" And she'd be like, "Nothing, just," and she would act like she was swinging something. She's like, you know, just knocking those legs. I was like, oh my God, I fucking love her. She's really funny.
Dude, like, I know people think of like Misery when they think of Kathy Bates. For me, it's Joe Bennett from The Office. You know, like, it's like she brings those two giant dogs into the office and she's like, "Don't let them near your crotch."
And please don't try to ride them.
A lot of people try to ride them. It's fantastic. Oh, man. But this is the scene that I know you wanted to talk about, and it's very brief, right? So Walt's, like, I was about to say Aaron. Jesse is freaking out, but he notices that Walt's missing. It's like, oh, shit, where is he? He walks outside, and Walt's sitting out in the field, blood in his hand from coughing. And this is... Man, this is like a horror film. Like this
right.
This really hits you.
Right. Well, again, it just takes a shitty situation and it now puts that shit inside of a pot and turns the heat on and starts to boil that shit. It's like, God, this is getting even worse now because the only other person you have to depend on is a borderline senior citizen with terminal cancer. It's like, fuck, like this is getting worse and worse.
Yeah. We cut to them lying on the floor of the RV. Walt says that he had this coming. He deserves this. Like, okay, that is interesting. That it takes near death for Walt to. I mean, like, and I think that's for a lot of people, right? Like, it takes like something really, really drastic for us to fess up to our mistakes and fess up to look back on like the mistakes that we've made. But you know, Walt here just says, "Oh God, all the lies. I can't even keep them straight in my head anymore." Like, this is really interesting for me. Like, I mean, especially like knowing what I know about the rest of the show, that Walt here really kind of like ends up spilling his heart to Jesse. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think he deserves all that. He's a piece of shit. He's knocking, you know, he's banging the boots of a woman that's way out of his league. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do think it's interesting, and I do think it's kind of like that. You know, throwing yourself, you know, throwing yourself at the gates and being like, this is what I've done. Father, forgive me, like kind of like redemptive forgiveness, like kind of thing. And it is kind of weird that like, as this moment is unfolding, you know, as he starts to kind of, for lack of a better term, like atone for all the things that he's done, is there any kind of like, bing, does the light bulb kind of come on? It's not until he kind of has a moment of like, I guess, clear conscience, I guess, where things kind of get clicked into perspective that actually is any kind of, and I do want to talk about him building the battery and stuff because I got problems with that. But the thing is, like, the thing I do like about it is it feels like he comes to terms. He is admitting things that he only admits to himself in like the dark, you know, and not until then is there an exit given for both of them.
Right. Like, so you're saying that like for him to come up with this way out. Like he needed to kind of like lift the weight off his shoulders, right?
I kind of feel like that. I do feel like it's kind of like it just makes me think of Atlas, and it makes me feel like if Atlas were just like, I don't have to, why am I doing that? And I think once you start to question really kind of, that's why I do like the scene of that. It takes him like, and that's why I think kind of and it sucks because it kind of overshadows that moment of him basically confessing all of this stuff and realizing that he's kind of in way over his head in a really rare moment of not weakness, but admitting any kind of fault, which is what, which is basically what Walt is doing here and what he doesn't do a lot. But then it's kind of, I don't know, it's just overshadowed by this like Deus Ex battery building bullshit. I don't love it. I think it's a really cool scene that allows the second one to happen, but it's kind of sloppy. I just don't really enjoy it.
Well, we can talk about this, right? Because we're getting here. So Walt cautions Jesse that his body is running short of electrolytes. You go marching out there and within an hour you'll be dead. And Jesse just freaks out. You need to cut out all your loser crybaby crap and come up with something scientific. Jesse pleads with Walt to come up with something. Signal flare, build a robot, until the light bulb idea, build a battery. Walt wants anything galvanized, solid zinc. He wants the brake pads. What are we building? Asks Jesse. You said it yourself, says Walt. And I love Jesse's response.
A robot?
A robot? But yeah, like this is him building the battery, right? So Walt's building one cell of a battery, takes this time to teach Jesse about batteries. Like this is interesting because we don't see a lot of teachable moments anymore, right? I mean, like we don't see a lot of, usually it's Walt, Jesse, get me this, get me that, get me this, get me that. And I'll put something together. But now Walt, it looks like Walt is now happy to teach Jesse, right? Like it seems like he's getting some pleasure out of teaching Jesse.
Yeah. You feel like they're basically back in the classroom. I did enjoy that a lot. It kind of feels like we just took 2 steps back in time.
Mercuric oxide, graphite from the brake pads, the cathode being the supply of current. The opposite side is the anode, which is the zinc and anything galvanized. The potassium hydroxide in the sponge acts as the electrolyte. What? I fucking laugh at it every time I think about it. What particular element should we use to conduct this current? Wire.
That sounds like Jesus Christ, Jesse.
So I'm reading from the Breaking Bad Bible that we have here, right? I mean that we've got. So I'm just gonna go into this. So I haven't read this before, so I'm just gonna hopefully this will add something to the show. If it doesn't, sorry. So Walt, in full MacGyver mode, sends Jesse off to collect coins, galvanized metal, and the brake pads from the RV. As he explains, a battery is simply an anode and cathode separated by an electrolyte. Walt uses a polypropylene container, in parentheses, a common plastic dish, to hold everything. The cathode is the positive terminal of this one-cell battery, where the supply of the current flows out from. Walt creates this with mercuric oxide and graphite taken from the brake pads. The anode is the negative terminal. This is where the resulting current will flow into from the cathode. Walt's is made from zinc, such as that found in the galvanized coating of household hardware. Walt uses a handful of nuts, washers, screws, and pocket change. Walt's cut up sponges soaked in potassium hydroxide, an ingredient used in meth manufacturing as well as having less nefarious uses, supply the electrolyte separating the cathode and the anode. Walt uses copper wire as a conductor. Once they have assembled 6 cells and run the wire through each, Walt gingerly attaches the jumper cables to the anode and the cathode, and it's just enough to jumpstart the RV. At least on television. While Walt's construction of the batteries would indeed generate current, it is unlikely that they would produce enough juice to jumpstart the RV.
Okay. Because, listen, I don't have a problem with, Walt has proven time and time again that given basic elements and time, he is he can be the adult version of Kevin McAllister. But the issue that I take with it is that it's just how the fuck did Walt not think of this before Jesse put this idea in his head? before he, like, literally Jesse said robot, and he was like, "You're right, battery." And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? That, like, you had no idea that you literally had every element that you needed fucking 4 feet away from you. And it's like, that just seemed kind of, that seemed kind of ridiculous to me, that it's like, I feel like Walt would have come to that conclusion really fast, but then you have no episode without that, you know, like, it just seemed, it seemed like he could have come to this conclusion a lot sooner. And this was basically not allowed because we had an episode of television to make, you know?
I somewhat agree with you. I think the first time I watched it, I was like, man, like, that does seem like a Deus Ex Machina. It's just like, it's right there. Like, you know, there it is. But here's my thing, right? Walt's first kind of like instinct is to react to the situation, and reacting poorly, right? I mean, like, he reacts really, because this is Jesse's mistake, right? I mean, like, he's out here because of he's stuck out here because of Jesse, right? So, like, I think that kind of like his whole like anger management whole thing, like that really gets into it. But then your first instinct would be to use the generator, right? I mean, like, that is a solid, you know,
that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, you definitely would do that before creating a battery. And then once the generator blows, I think I would also try and manually start the generator as well. I mean, like, you know, maybe he's not, you know, maybe he's kind of like using this as, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, for this to occur to him, like, right now, right here, it's just like, I don't know. If he had used this as kind of like a backup kind of like situation, like if he had this in his mind already and be like, all right, we have no other choice but to do this now, like, that would be a little bit more, you know.
I wish there would be some kind, and this is just me pulling shit out of my ass, but I really wish I'd be like, okay, there is a way that we can get out of this, but we're going to have to burn half of our meth. Like, oh, fuck. Okay, that's... there was something part of the equation that did not exist until a minute ago, or something you really, really, really didn't want it. We're going to have to burn $675,000 worth of meth, you know, like, oh my God, like, we'll have to break it down and extract some kind of component out of it and make, you know, I feel like if if Jesse and Walt were like Tony Stark and Jensen, you know, in the RV, that's kind of, that's kind of what I felt like this was coming to. But, you know, I know that Walt is no Tony Stark, you know, that's ridiculous, but I was like, man, this feels like, did you ever watch MacGruber on SNL with Will Forte? Yeah. And he would be like, hand me that wire. Okay, hand me that chipmunk and give me that pile of dog poo. And they'd be like, MacGruber, I'm not going to MacGruber. And like, that's really what it felt like.
That's a take on MacGyver, right? Like, yeah, it's, yeah.
That's like, and I get like, and even in that book they mentioned MacGyver, but like, this just seemed almost hilarious to me that I was like, oh, now we're discovering things. It's like, dude, I don't know. That's one of the few times I've really, really disliked anything in any of these episodes. Like, that just feels like, interesting. I don't dig it.
Yeah. Didn't work for you. That's interesting. Well, I'm going to hang up the call now.
Yeah. Now, I love when Jesse's like, you know, that guy had to drink his piss for like a couple. If he had been like, that's it, we've got to drink each other's piss, you know, like, okay, now we're talking. Like, now I get it. That's cool.
Right. Can you, dude? I actually really wonder where the fuck Skinny Pete.
I kind of wanted, I wanted them to cut to like an after credit scene of like Skinny Pete in his car and wolves just circling around him. And he's like he's like trapped or something.
Oh my God. You know what? The wolves aren't going to be interested because that guy's just skin and bones. Like, there is no meat on him whatsoever.
He's been throwing meth to the wolves and now they're super meth wolves.
Legend has it that out in the New Mexico desert, there is a pack of super wolves.
Yeah, there's a pack of super meth wolves.
Oh, man. They hook up the battery, attempt to turn over the engine, and after a few failed attempts, finally manage to get it going. And I love that there's no kind of like, you know, we don't see them drive out of there or anything. We just cut to Jesse dropping Walt off at the airport, right? I mean, like, there's no... Right. Like, there's no bullshit, like, waste of time. Like, you know, we just cut to the next most important thing. Because Jesse drops Walt off at the airport. He asks about the cough, but Walt says it's fine. Jesse promises Walt that whatever happens to him, his family will get his share.
I like it.
I like it too, man. Jesse asks whether he'll be hearing from Walt, and Walt is somewhat hesitant when he responds. But, like, I think Walt is very, very aware that the bonding that happened in the desert just now was a one and done type deal. You know, it was just like I kind of like know that, you know, that's never going to happen again. Because when he says, when Jesse says, all right, I'll wait for your call, Walt is like, yeah, like, you know, like, yeah,
right.
It's going to happen.
Well, it makes me think of Groundhog Day when Bill Murray is leaving for the second time out of the hotel, and she's like, are you going to be checking out today? He's like, chance of departure 80%, and like he leaves. But also, you know, I wonder had you know, this situation not happened where they were in mortal danger, what their relationship would be like. You know, would Walt have finally had at least a smidge more respect before than he did for Jesse, you know, because they finally did something that was just like a clean slate. They didn't have to, there wasn't any crazy complication or something, you know, and who would want to watch just 45 minutes of them cooking meth and having no complications from it? That's kind of boring. But I wonder, you know, had things gone smoothly, you know, would that have kind of, because, you know, you feel like when he gets out of the car that things are back to him being like, fucking dumbass, you know, he's like, you old prick, you know. But yes, if things had gone smoothly, I wondered what that conversation would have been like going up to the airport. You know, I kind of felt like it would have continued versus stopping, you know, out of the desert.
Yeah, actually, I didn't consider that. I didn't consider, like the ramifications of what would have happened if all of these issues didn't happen. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. We cut over to the family and Dr. Del Cavoli discussing the scan results. He says, you're showing signs of remission. Now, that doesn't mean he's necessarily cured. It just means that by the classification of the hospital, it just means that the tumor hasn't grown. But in Walt's case, the tumor has shrunk by 80%. Damn. Mm-hmm. And I love Walt Jr.'s response behind him. Like, he's just like, yeah, man. Like, you know. Yeah,
well, and what does he say? 20 to 25% is good. So 80% is like, dude, you have now quadrupled what they consider to be a good diagnosis, you know. Can't ask for a better diagnosis, I feel like, unless they were just like, yeah, it was a mistake. You don't have cancer at all. Some other guy, Walt Whitman. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I spilled some coffee on the monitor. Sorry, there was no tumor. Oops.
Right. Well, WW apparently stood for Wayne's World. I must have just had something stuck in my head. I don't know. Party time, excellent. The doctor's like doing the air guitar. Party time, excellent. The family's just staring at him like,
we're not worthy. But yeah, so everyone is absolutely elated, and I love that it takes Skylar a moment to process this, right? This isn't Skylar being Skylar. She's just,
I'll be honest,
genuinely shocked.
Definitely misty-eyed at the end of this episode. Like, that was like an amazing of like seeing everybody, like Marie, whenever they sit down, her whole fucking like center face is like red from where she's like super emotional, you know, and even Walt, his eyes are immediately like, you know, kind of like watered, I guess. But this did not feel like a bunch of actors. This actually felt like a group of people being like, finally some good fucking news, you know. It's been 2 seasons and there really hasn't been hardly any good news about Walt's like cancer, and now it was just like it kind of felt like the people hoisting the flag at Iwo Jima. It just felt like these group of people like finally shoving that off. I really, really enjoyed it.
Everyone but Walt, right? I mean, like, Del Cavoli says that Walt has radiation pneumonitis, which is fairly common. The outline that Walt saw in the CT scan was tissue inflammation. Walt asked whether he's sure because he was coughing up blood, and this gets Skylar riled up, asking when this happened. Del Cavoli assumes that it's likely that Walt has a tear in his esophagus, which is serious. Del Cavoli says, no more secrets, Walt. With something like this, you have to call me immediately. In our final scene, Jesus Christ, I can't talk, Walt washes his face and before he leaves, catches a reflection of himself in the towel dispenser before he unleashes his rage on it. And that ends that episode. Now, this is the part that I think is probably the most interesting element of the entire episode for me. It's just like, holy shit, dude. Like, you just got possibly the best news of your life, right? And now you're just like his excuse, dude, like his justification for everything that he's done is now gone.
Right.
Right? Like, you cannot now fall back on your, I have terminal cancer. Now I need to rely on my family. Like, you're in danger. You've either lost it or you're in danger of losing that excuse. If he doesn't have terminal cancer, then there's no reason to continue cooking. Like,
yeah, go back to, per usual, whatever life was before.
He doesn't want to go back to his life. And like, understandably, right? I mean, like he was fucking, working with Bogdan, like washing like the car wash. Like life has become a cage for Walt, and he's had a taste of what outside of the cage is like. And now he is not wanting to go back to that cage.
He reacts like the Joker not being able to lure Batman out anymore. He reacts like the reason and that's the whole thing with the Joker is like, my whole reason to go on is Batman. So for basically Batman to stop and to not come out anymore, there's something about that my whole reason of doing this is now gone. Having, like you said, having a taste of Heisenberg, and you can, I think that my first gut reaction is like, oh, he wanted to die. And it's like, no, he doesn't fucking want to die. I think he has accepted death to an extent, but I think exactly like what you said, his genie has to go back into the bottle now, and he doesn't want it back in the bottle. He wants to, it's, the best way, I seriously, we joke about like, oh, Colin, you're so full of analogies. That is like my first, like, my brain is like guys on a World War II cannon just reloading the analogy meter. Is it like, but that I was thinking Jean Grey and the Dark Phoenix, it's like that power feels good, and it's like, why would I want to give that up? It's ultimate. You're this powerful, crazy, badass motherfucker. And who would want to give that up? So like, I think it's trying to put lightning in a bottle once it's been let out.
Yeah. And I really want to give props to Bryan Cranston here, man. Like, I mean, like, there is nothing that I'm about to say about Bryan Cranston that hasn't been said already. I mean, the guy has a shit ton of Emmys to prove it. But just here, as he's like being given this news and he's hugging everybody, he's like smiling, but you can see him you can see it occurring to him that it's like, oh no, I have to go back to my old life. And as he as he goes to hug Skylar, it's hesitant. It's very like, shit, man, like this is, I'm going to put on the happy face, but this is not good news for me.
Right. And he's not going to cook meth for free, and it's like, well, what's my wife going to say when we have $50,000 showing up every month? What the fuck? You can only win so many scratch offs, dude.
Right. Exactly. And now this also removes the line, the barrier, right? Like, so now he doesn't need that $737,000 goal that he was going to leave for his family, right? I mean, so like now where does the buck stop, right? Like where do you stop cooking if you are going to keep cooking, Right. Oh, man. So that's it. That's episode 9 of season 2, 4 days out. Colin, do you want to give me your closing thoughts and where you would like to see it go from here in the next couple episodes as we start to close out season 2?
I don't really have anywhere I say like, oh, I'd like to see things. I just really like to see, like characters that are not, I'd like to see minor characters used just like a little bit. I want to see more Marie. Like I kind of want to see a little bit more like Walt Jr. and Skylar. I kind of want to see what's going on with those. Like we've gotten a lot of Walt and a lot of Hank and a lot of Jesse and Jessica Jones, but we haven't really gotten a lot from like the other the other members of this family. I don't really have anywhere where I'd like it to go. But all in all, I enjoyed the episode quite a bit. It was a great kind of like what Brian Griffin would call a Swiss-tusion, like at the end of it with Walt punching out that toilet paper. Towel dispenser. Thank you. I almost said hand dryer, and I was like, no, that's not it. But it's a really great episode for Walt and Jesse of seeing like, what they would have been like in the classroom together. But also kind of seeing these two, again, this feels like George Costanza being like, if single George walks through that door, and it's like now like Walter White is starting to fuck with Heisenberg, and there's moments where Heisenberg has fucked with Walter White and has, kind of jeopardized Walter White's life. But now with this problem that is Walter White's, it totally threatens the identity of Heisenberg. And I think that's probably the most interesting thing from it is it's great character moments for Jesse and Walt, but really it's more so, what will Walt's decision be now? Once they I assume they come back at some point and go, hey, you're done. You don't have any cancer. Like, you might be, like the doctor said, you're going into remission. That doesn't mean you're cured. Like, Walt could still go downhill next season for all I know. But I'm assuming at some point, Walt is probably going to get a clean bill of health, and there's going to be more money, more questions, more problems,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think this is a fantastic episode. I think it's without giving anything away, somewhat of a calm before the storm. Like this is a very reflective episode for both characters, for Jesse and Walt. Like, in terms of like, let's go out here, let's go cook this meth. Oh shit, we just got into a problem. Let's get to know each other a little bit better. Let's see how we resolve issues together. Walt criticizing Jesse is just a goddamn dude. Just back off the accelerator a little bit. But yeah, ultimately, Walt receiving what is, to every other person, every other human being out there, the best news possible. For Walt, it's basically a death sentence. It's like, I do not want to go back and be that person that I was. Like, this is a guy now who can sit across from someone who offered him money for treatment and say, fuck you. The previous Walt could not do that. The previous Walt was not capable of that. This is a guy now who can stand face to face against someone like Tuco, right? And like actually have come to a bargain with him, or come to a conversation, or like, even threaten him, right? Like in that episode in season 1, that was not the guy that he was. So like, him losing that feeling of like being in control, being in power, scares the shit out of him. And to be honest, kind of rightfully so. Like, I mean, like, you don't want to ever go back to feeling like a bitch, or like feeling someone who lacks confidence, like, So I totally see it. I totally get it. And that's what makes Walter White just an incredibly compelling character for me. Like, because he is a character who does bad things. And, you can take this as being greedy, or you can take this as him just wanting to maintain the status quo and be the same kind of person that he is currently. Someone with confidence, someone with the balls to stand up for himself, So, yeah.
You know what this makes me think of is Upgrade with Logan Marshall Green.
Nice. Yeah. It's
like, what is it, Gray in that? Whatever terrible name is, like Gray Trace.
Dude,
but
his name is Gray Trace.
That's worse than Memphis Reigns. I'm sorry. Gray Trace is so much worse.
No. Memphis Reigns. Memphis Reigns from Gone in 60 Seconds is the worst name I've heard in my life.
Memphis Reigns is an American icon. No, I'm just kidding. No, but what I love is the fact that eventually Gray Trace's story kind of comes to a close and he defeats the bad guys, but that's not enough for STEM. It's like Walter White is STEM. Like, he's like, I want to control your life. This will become our life. Like, I am tired of being attached to some. It's almost like Venom, from Marvel in a way. It's like, yes, we, it's like Walter White looks at Heisenberg and it's like, we, not you and I, it's we, as one thing. There's a really interesting kind of symbiotic, relationship there that doesn't stop when the host's problems are solved. It's when the parasite, and that's kind of like, really, when you think about Heisenberg, he's kind of a parasite. Like, he's kind of a venom. It's kind of like STEM from Upgrade. It's this thing that kind of doesn't stop at the host primary problems. It wants to go above and beyond all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, man. That's it. That is season 2, episode 9, 4 days out. Guys, thank you so much for listening to us here at Bad Crystal. This was a lot of fun. We are getting ready to close out season 2. We are barreling towards the end very quickly. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to this particular episode. Follow us on our socials, scroll down, have a look at the show notes. They're all there. And we will see you guys next week when we cover episode 10, which is called Over. See you guys next time.